Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
We're going back to back. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks
Basketball Podcast.
I am your host, Freddie Rivas, and who might you be, other voice?
I'm your producer, Matt Duncan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Matt, if people wanted to, find us and they're just hearing us somehow without finding us right now, where might they find us? Where do they need to look on the internet?
You want to go to dunkspodcast.com. That's the easiest way to get to all the links there on the right for iTunes and Stitcher. You can listen on our website too if you want. It's a little bit ghetto, but if that's the way you like to drink your tea, that's the way you drink your tea.
That's right. Some people chug their tea.
Yeah. But, we've got Spotify and Player FM and YouTube and all that stuff.
All the good stuff.
We're on Instagram.
When you have Player FM, you're in it.
Yeah. Player FM, really slick interface. It's got a bit of an Angel Fire feel to it, but you know what? People like it.
And Matt, if people, if let's say you're walking outside and the rest of your body is fully warm and nice, but all of a sudden you feel like your head's like freezing, and maybe, your brain might freeze and you're scared about the temperature of your head. What might you do?
Well, you're going to want something that doesn't itch. That's the first thing. And then the second thing you want to cross off is obviously you want to buy a toque, Confederacy of Dunks anti-itching toque. Okay, you got long hair, you got no hair, no itch.
If your head is cold, you need a hat that doesn't itch.
All right, you want to have a hat that doesn't itch before you have a hat that's warm, and that's where we start. That is the ground floor for Confederacy of Dunks toques, and you never know. Maybe we'll add a scarf to the mix too.
Yeah, there was some talk about scarves today, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
No promises, just kidding. I promise all the listeners, very shortly we're going to have fully branded Confederacy of Dunks scarves. They're going to be wonderful. They're going to be selling like hotcakes.
Be ready for July. Yeah.
So July, August, when it gets piping hot, we're going to roll out those scarves. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
And Matt, if they want to support us and help us be like the independent podcasters we already are, but just like slightly more comfortable. Like if they want to say Freddie and Matt deserve to be in an Aston Martin, in like northern Scugog, like racing on empty, farm streets
or
stuff like that.
Something on that side of the scale, or just on the other side where it's to help us, get this podcast going and, be able to invest in some other things to make it better. Go to our Patreon at patreon.com/dunkspodcast.
Help us out.
Yeah, there's different tiers there, and you'll get a shout out on the show if you do the cheapest one. And then, if you go a little higher, you might get some hot sauce
Heyo.
Freddie made called Gasol's
Mark's Rosé. Mark's Rosé and basketball.
I totally forgot what it was called.
It's okay. It's my hot
Mark's
sauce.
Rosé.
That's a weird, dumb name. So I think before we lead into the guests here, I just want to kind of take a moment and say that super duper friend of the podcast, Catherine Niker, has started her own podcast. It's called Kathy Buckets.
Yeah.
She's amazing. It's her talking about basketball. We're all basketball junkies. Find that podcast, listen to the podcast, rate it, subscribe, iTunes. Help her out.
Yeah.
This is how we get over, all the slights we get as Raptors fans.
Yeah.
We support our local people, right?
Absolutely.
So that was me being like genuine, and then I just happened to look at myself in the miror and I judged the shit out of myself. But all jokes aside, check out Catherine's podcast. Help her out. I guess let's get popping on this episode. We got two guests for you. Katie Heindl, who has been working with the Raptors and covering them for the whole month of February. So I talked to her second. and just ask her basically everything that came to my head about the Raptors and about All-Star Weekend, which she covered. She was so gracious and, as always, has an amazing perspective. Jarrett Campbell was the first guest. Jarrett works on Avec Classe, so obviously he's got, he's privy to a bunch of stuff we are not. He's a really, really funny guy and super duper Raptors and basketball fan. So he was awesome. And we dig into the what about scarves a little bit, obviously.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone enjoys the pod.
Enjoy.
Well, welcome. This is our first guest. He's been on the podcast before. Jarrett Campbell, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How you doing? Matt, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking.
Good. Thanks for having me back, guys.
No problem, buddy. We're all doing good, Doing
well.
I think last time I was there, we drank wine.
We did, yeah.
We drank some wine, might have had some beer. I know Matt's usually pushing the creme de menthe. I don't know if you had any of that.
What is that?
It's really gross. It's like a bottle of like Jolly Rancher alcohol.
Oh, okay. That sounds all right.
You just got to have it on the bar,
Yeah.
Let's get cracking here. Did you see the massive win yesterday, buddy?
I did, man. That was something to behold.
46 points, franchise record. Like what even is a takeaway from a game like that? Like it's such a thorough giant beatdown that it's kind of like, where do you?
I think that's the type of game that shows the championship pedigree. Because at the very beginning, I was watching, and I said to who I was with, I was like, I think the Raptors were up 13-3 or something, 16-3 or something at the beginning of the game, and I was like, in typical Raptors fashion, they will win this game, but it will get close. Like, this won't be a beatdown all the way through. And then they kept it all the way through. There wasn't even really a moment where there was even a worry. And it's just like right now they're such a well-oiled machine, man. Like, everybody is doing their job and doing it well. And it's just, over the course of the last couple of months, obviously we've been riddled with injuries, but seeing now, even with like Norm out still and Mark out, that these young guys, like I just love them. Even like Hollis Jefferson, like everybody's just doing their part right now, and it's so fun to watch.
RHJ,
well-rounded team.
He's been amazing. Like, I think
fantastic.
I was excited when we got him in the offseason, but I didn't want to get too excited, obviously, because, we lost Kawhi, so I didn't want to be like, yeah, I'm jacked about Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. But I did think he could, be a meaningful defensive kind of like fit on this team. And I think he's really found like, I think his most useful look on this team as a small ball center.
Well, 100%. And I think that, here's the thing, I think that with the makeup of this team now and the way that it's built, it's kind of an easy team to find your place in and to play your role, because you're coming into a system that is so strong and it's been built like over the course of a handful of years now by Masai and now, first of all, Nick, we can talk about him after, but Nick Nurse, I think, is the most brilliant coach as well. That goes without saying, but I think that the whole system right now really lends itself to a guy, especially a role player, coming in and finding their place, because if you don't find your place, there is no place for you on that team. Like, it's not a team that, we have enough guys to play that you're gonna lose minutes if you don't buy in. And when you do buy in, it's fucking fun.
Oh man, what was your favorite moment from last night as far as like, the Simpsons?
It's got to be Lamb's leg blowing up.
Oh no,
God. No, man.
God.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. I'm not
Wait,
not
that
happy actually, I was just fascinated by that. It like when I was reading it today, I'm like, it's every part of his leg.
It looked awful, and like I try to avoid.
No, it was terrible.
I usually avoid watching injuries, but. Yeah, I saw it.
Well, I was watching it live, and then I watched it. Yeah, I did watch it 2 or 3 times in a row, and it was pretty gross. So anyways, I didn't think it would be as bad as it was. He probably shouldn't have been putting any weight off of it as he was walking off. But
I know, he shot the free throws too, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, he shouldn't.
That looked awful.
He shouldn't have done any of that. So I hope that he'll be fine. He's shut down now for the season, obviously. But
wait, I was actually going to ask you, what was your favorite stop, he's already dead moment? But I feel like that's the actual answer.
I think that's
bad that happened. Like something actually bad and not embarrassing, something truly not good.
But I'll say that the obvious thing is the being up by 25 and Lowry still taking charges.
Okay. That to me wasn't the obvious thing. I thought I was going to pick something else, but I thought you were going to go first to Matt Thomas hitting like 5 threes in the fourth quarter. Like, that's like, come on. Because
I love Matt Thomas. And actually, I love that the whole team is unrelenting. But again,
they're all hungry.
We don't have a history of locking these games up. Like when I say that, but by like 20 points, like that gap always ends up getting close. So I love seeing them actually step on the throat and do that. So it's seeing guys like Matt Thomas, and he's a guy that will, I think, play that role very well in the postseason. Exactly what you saw there, coming in as kind of a shutdown shooter.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like it's really looking like we are as much of a Swiss Army knife as we've ever been. Like, this team is just fantastic.
I really the fact that we have such versatility for the bigs spots is crazy to me. Like, that Boucher has been as good as he has been. There's really not a player on the team that you can take anything away from right now. Everybody has earned their minutes, and everybody, again, knows their place. And when Gasol comes back, their minutes will thin out again. But it's everybody's been doing exactly what they've been asked to and more. So that, everybody's going to get paid back. Everybody's going to get that come playoff time. They're all going to see their hard work pay off, and we're seeing it obviously as a unit. So
yeah, it's a fun year, man. It's a super fun year. Okay, let me ask you. I got to ask you a couple questions about Avec Classe. Like, I'm already giddy. So can I just fire away?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so, first of all, for anyone listening to this podcast, Jarrett is a producer on the Serge Ibaka show, Avec Classe. So I guess, so I cover a couple bases here. Like, how did that even kind of get started for you? Like, did you run into Serge on the street?
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
but no, I don't even. Even after, like, I've worked with him a bunch of times now, and I bet he still doesn't know my name. But
I'm sure he does. That guy's hilarious. And
he's so funny. He's the best. No, it just happened with Uninterrupted. The guys that are doing it are an awesome company, which obviously has started in the States. LeBron James, his whole company that kind of runs on the initiative of more than an athlete. And that's kind of like they try to like showcase the other side of the athlete. And that's where the shop originated, right? So it kind of opens up just a different dialogue. And within that space, you can create such cool stuff, and they have such great access. So anyways, like a guy that I know and had worked with before on some stuff, he ended up purchasing the company with Drake. They bought the Canadian side of it. And then so I'd already been kind of working with him on a couple things, and then this started, and I started working on some Uninterrupted stuff, and then the documentary, Serge's documentary, was kind of the first thing that they rolled out, and then from there, it was Avec Classe, but they had plans for Avec Classe for a while, so I was brought in the beginning stages of it. And, it's been really cool to kind of be there from the beginning and see it develop. And then obviously we knew it was going to be successful just because of like how much of a personality Serge is and how good, How Hungry Are You did. So this was kind of a no-brainer for them to roll out. And it's been great now. It's been a lot of fun. And obviously you've seen like you've seen it trend a lot. So it's been pretty cool.
We'll go there, baby. So are you like kind of is your job there? Are you the punch-up guy? Or are you like, hey, we need a funny person here?
It started, so I was just kind of development with them. So I was working on a bunch of different aspects of it. And then I was originally there to like write funny questions because we were trying to feel out the format of the show. And, as we went with it, it ends up being more and more just kind of Serge's voice than anything else. So, and I've just kind of been on the floor. So when I say producer, it's like floating, like I've helped with writing, produce, like every kind of aspect. It's like a really good team together. And the guys that are filming it are the same guys that filmed How Hungry Are You? So he's already got a lot of trust within most of the creative there. So it's pretty chill. And it's been a good experience, man.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. You say it's like, it's really chill because I think the average fan looks at something like this and they're like, hold on. So, this guy's in the middle of an NBA season. He's a really important player on a team. He's having an incredible year. He's coming out with a documentary. He's a crazy busy guy. He's doing a lot of stuff. And the show's good. It's fun. So it's kind of like, is this like, this all has to happen in this amount of hours type thing on this day? Or is it kind of like, hey, we got to just go with Serge's schedule?
Well, yeah, no, it's 100% around his schedule. And because it's not just him, but you're dealing with other athletes at the same time, it's very much like you can have an entire day set to shoot and then it can go away. And like you can find out that day that's not happening because they do have such a demanding schedule. And so, yeah, it's based on when are you in town? When is your guest in town? So far, it's just been Raptors, but it's not just going to be Raptors, I don't think, moving forward. So, very much just the athlete's schedule itself when you're filming anything in season is it's all over the place, and you absolutely have to work around that.
Okay, well, it's going to get a bit dumber now. What's the food like? Is it good? Because, like, how hungry are you? You know what I mean? I know set life is a little bit different. But like, what's going on with the food?
There's not. Well, here's the thing. There hasn't been too much so far.
Oh, really? Is it like pure guerrilla film style? Like,
kind of. Well, because again, it has food. There is a time crunch on it. It is done pretty quickly. It's filmed at Holt Renfrew, so it's filmed. They have like blocked off some hours at a certain time to be there.
That's awesome.
And to do that, yeah. So it's pretty. It's not like you're not hanging out on set all day.
Right. So it's not a hurry up and wait scenario. It's like hurry up because we're at Holt Renfrew and Serge Ibaka.
It's all about
other famous people.
It's all about going in with just a clear game plan and being able to execute it like very quick. And it's simple because so far, especially the whole thing about it, the beauty of it is we're just kind of showcasing a chemistry that already exists with teammates and with friends. So it's like you go up, he's got the basic structure. I mean, this fashion is a passion of his and everything. So none of this is forced. And it's very, very loosely. We just kind of guide the narrative. It's not actually scripted or anything all the way down to the word. I mean, this is just Serge being Serge with his friends.
Right. Okay. So this brings us to the obviously, super viral moment that produced I Do Art, and obviously this whole kind of like scarf craze, and even just like chumps like the Hornets trying to also do the scarf thing, and like it's really it's a big deal. Like I think it's like in a lot of ways it's kind of like the biggest meme of the Raptors season, I would say, so far. So like how like that seemed pretty organic. Serge seemed pretty actually mad. What like being there, like, was it kind of like did it take a couple takes? Was that the one take? Was Serge a 10 out of 10 anger? Or was this like he's having fun, but he is actually mad too?
Well, let me say that I had to leave right before I had to go do a show that night. So I wasn't on set for that moment. But no, I know all about, like, it was completely organic. It was 100%. That was OG just being a troll, which
he just trolled him so hard.
And I didn't realize, like, I think everybody there got more out of him than you expected to in terms of like personality and character. I mean, it was so funny, but that was all like completely natural and organic exchange, and he did, I think, genuinely get under Serge's skin there for a bit. So that's like, and again, that was so easy to capture and stuff because those guys are already coming into that with that relationship.
So after something like that big, in this kind of like weird viral world we're living in, is it kind of like, okay, holy shit, this is massive. We should maybe change the show to like, what about scarves? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or is it just like, no, let's just keep doing what we're doing. More, more huge moments like this are just gonna happen.
Yeah. I think you just definitely keep doing what you're doing and just ride the wave of not necessarily the scarf itself, but just like the popularity of that segment just brings more people in. The cool thing about that show is that you're getting people that enjoy sports as well as people that enjoy fashion, right in the middle, right? So you're kind of like, you're catering to a very wide demographic with it, but with something like that, when that stuff goes viral, you're bringing in a lot of eyes and a lot of people that aren't necessarily looking at it or finding it through a basketball standpoint. So it's not about, I think, beating to death the one concept or the one thing that came out of it, but it's about absolutely riding the wave and the energy that produced.
Right, just having faith that like, this is awesome. This just happened because we're having fun, and like, there's more to come.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that what we've seen so far, like just out at the beginning, is that just with who Serge is, his personality, and what he brings out in people, you're always going to find something like that. You're always going to find something. I mean, like in that case, obviously, OG was hilarious, and that was unexpected. But I think the more, it's interesting when you put people like that on camera and they're comfortable with the person that they're talking to, because then they do open up a bit and you will find things in people that you didn't know were there, because most of the times what you're getting from them is incredibly packaged, right? Whether it's like a press conference or a post-game interview, like it's work. And this, I think, removes them from work. They don't feel like they're working when they're there.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more Avec class question, and then we're gonna try and blaze through some quickish questions super fast before we let you go. Sound good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so last Avec class question is, I just want to know if this is kind of just like opening it up to you. Like, is there anything that you feel like you just have to share about the experience that you wouldn't be able to share otherwise? Like this, I had no idea Serge is blank, or I had no idea this.
No, I don't know if there's anything I should like. I would just say that I'm surprised in person with like how affable these guys are and how much personality they truly have. I know this isn't like a fucking hot bit or anything to share, but I think that it's
hot take. These guys got charm.
Yeah, it's just what I like with these dudes. No, but it's cool to see them versus, I'll say, like perhaps like hockey players or something like that. There is a lot of fucking personality here, and you can tell that there's a whole interesting life behind these guys when they talk to you. And I've found that it's kind of refreshing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
To speak with them and like to see the other, like again, like literally the other side of the athlete. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything juicy that I should be sharing or even have.
Listen, there's gonna be more What About Scarves moments, more shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get dumb here for a sec. Matt, do you want to do some quickish questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, your voice sounded like it came out of a tube.
I know.
He's so tired.
Hit me with that quickish question sting.
Quickish questions.
Okay, Jarrett, you've played this before. I'm looking at my timer. I have less than basically 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm gonna blaze through as many questions as I can get, and then we're gonna let you go.
Okay. Are these like one-word answers, or what?
Yeah, you just answer as quick as you possibly can.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. This one's coming from Kevin. Would you keep Serge in the starting lineup when Mark comes back?
Yes.
Okay. Come from Thomas. How many minutes should Terrence Davis get to play in the playoffs?
20.
Coming from Kevin. What are some first drafts of wacky coaching strategies that Nick Nurse didn't end up trying?
Pass.
Fair enough. Oh, I like the pass.
What is it? I don't know. I didn't know how to answer. I feel like there's a time crunch.
No, this is great. I should. Okay.
Like box and no one.
Yeah, box and no one. Yeah, just 4 people on the floor. Okay, this one's coming from Jonathan. It was revealed that during the MLB offseason, Madison Bumgarner was entering and winning rodeo competitions under an assumed name. Which NBA player can you picture doing something like this? And what would be their off-season activity, and what would their assumed name be?
I could see Big Baby Davis bobbing for apples at a county fair.
That's the best, most confident, comfortable answer ever on Quickish Questions. What's his bobbing name like?
Do you know what bobbing for apples is?
I do. No, so is he Big Baby Bob Davis?
Oh, big bobbing Davis.
Yeah, big bobbing Davis.
Big bobbing Davis just biting red apples in half.
Okay. This another one from Jonathan. Which NBA player / prospect will pull a Reese McGuire next preseason in the parking lot of the Halifax Dollarama? Maybe not the exact same indiscretion, but what other bad decision will they make?
Which player will the Reese? I'm gonna say that we're gonna find Zion Williamson injecting baby's hormones into his knees.
Okay, we got two more here. This one's coming from Jacob. Are there any plans to create Avec Classe style videos for other Raptors players?
There's going to be a ton of different things coming. I am sure of it. They won't be exactly Avec Classe, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of content.
Sweet. Okay, last question. We've heard so much about the Confederacy of Dunks toques, but this is for Matt as well. But what about Confederacy of Dunks scarves? Any plans for scarves?
I don't think there's a plan for it, but I think that if they're sleeping, you shouldn't.
Right?
Yeah. Get them done.
Yeah, get them done, Matt.
Because again, scarves are hot right now, but also, it's warming up.
Right?
Yeah. We might have to think about it.
Fall scarf.
Yeah, fall scarf? Yeah, I think so.
And we'll do our classic non-itchy.
Yeah, exactly. No itch.
Okay, Jared, I know you got to go. Thank you so much. Is there anything that, besides Avec Classe that you just want to plug before you head out?
I don't have anything. No, I'm not going to plug anything. I'll say this. Tuesday, we got the Bucks. When does this air?
Tomorrow.
It's gonna air tomorrow morning. So yeah, but it's a bit of a Bucks preview. So
okay.
Hit me up.
I just think that I can't wait till I'm very interested. I think that the big gap right now, obviously, the Giannis, I don't think anyone's going to touch the Bucks, but I really, really like how we match up against the rest of their team at the moment. So I'm curious to see what we're going to do now, because I think that I know this sounds silly, but I think we've matured even now from the last time that we faced them.
I totally agree. They actually, the reporter asked Nick Nurse, what it would be like playing the Bucks, considering we played them such a long time ago, or such a long time ago in the season. Like for them too,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the rest of this season, and I love what you guys are doing over there.
Hey,
thanks for having me.
Thanks, man,
buddy.
It.
Thanks for being you. Thanks for Avec Classe and whatever else is in the pipeline. It's the best time to be a Raptors fan ever. Okay, I'll say it every damn day. I lived through the Bargnani era. Okay,
yeah,
life is good.
Rasho Nesterovic, baby.
I met Rasho.
That's my guy. Did you?
Yeah, I saw him in a storage locker, and he was like, "Hello." He just said hello.
He's just fucking bending a bike around his neck.
Yeah, he was bending metal.
So, all right, bro. Yeah, all right, appreciate it.
Thanks for doing it, buddy. Have a good one.
Right.
Okay, cool. Guest number 2. I'm very, very, very excited to have her back. Give it up for Katie Heindl. How you doing, Katie?
I'm good. I don't get any music.
I just realized I said give it up, but I didn't tell you that your music's going to be like part of the lead-in, but I think Matt's playing it anyways.
Okay.
So basically, you get music, you might even get it twice.
That's good. Well, I'm used to that as my signal. It's like really Pavlovian to me.
And I think for me too, because I realized that I was just supposed to start in the conversation, but then I said, give it up. And I was like, give it up.
I know.
Give it up.
I had my finger on the button when you said that. I was like, oh, here we go.
See, we're all Pavlovian. Oh my God, this is cool. Okay, let's transition right into that wild Pacers game. All of our players have a Pavlovian work ethic. How about that? Is that a transition?
Really hanging on to the Pavlovian.
Barely.
They're Pavlovian with the Pacers and tearing them apart.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Jared, which is in The Simpsons, there's this stop, he's already dead moment meme where the person it's just the fight's not fair. for you, what was that moment where you were like, oh my goodness, like this game has gone too far?
Probably when Matt Thomas started hitting all of his shots.
Yes.
And even though I loved it because I feel very attached to him right now, but when Paul Watson got some real good minutes and he had like a really ugly block on who was it? On Elise Johnson, I think. And that I was like, I mean, there was only 3 minutes left to go, so I guess like they'd been dead for a while, but I was just like, I was more like, hell yeah, at that point.
Yeah, it was. Wait, I'm just realizing this. Did Paul Watson get like a highlight block before he got his first NBA bucket? Has he got his first NBA bucket, or just a free throw still?
Just a free throw still. Yeah, he had like an assist to O'Shea Brissett, and then O'Shea dunked, and he had a rebound, and I think that was his full. And then the block, and that was his full stat line last night.
Well, it'll happen. Paul Watson looks like he's got a lot of big time energy out there. So I know you've been kind of doing some Raptors 905 stuff. So actually, let's just jump right into that. You've been working with the Raptors for like all of February and maybe a little bit before as well. Like, so yeah, can you kind of just maybe give the basic breakdown for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what I'm talking about?
So for this season, the Raptors have had this new thing where they're doing different editorial features every month. So they have like a different writer that they basically asked to come on for each month. So they asked me back in the fall, and I picked February because I truly had designs on the All-Star game.
Oh, yes.
And also the trade deadline, and like February is just like, it's like, I always find it it's like, it can be really jarring. It can be super heartbreaking. It can be just like a lot always happens in this month, even though it's like usually the dead of winter in Toronto and like what a depressional seasonal slump for us. But in basketball, it can be great. So
no, you picked the best absolute month ever, like the win streak, All-Star, and all of our guys going to All-Star. So pat yourself on the back for picking the right month. Wow.
Thank you.
You crushed it. Like, you could have picked October. Like, you really nailed it there.
Thanks, man. I pretty much started as soon as the month kicked off. I mean, I've been covering games now since the winter, since December, early December, but with other outlets. So to be on with the Raptors in like a full-time capacity, I have to say, like, it's been really fun, super rewarding, but it's been a lot of work.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure you must be like both like physically and mentally exhausted. Like, was there ever a part of this? And I know the month's not over, but was there ever a part of this month where you're like, okay, I'm showing up to work, I have a pretty good idea of like how it's all going to shake out? Or has every day been like, I guess I'm on a plane back to Toronto now? Like, this is so wild.
Well, it's been like pretty formed around, I guess the wildest was probably All-Star, just because like I had like warnings from friends and like friendly warnings, I mean, just of like what to expect and how it would be and like how chaotic. And the only thing I really had to compare it to in advance was Summer League, which it turns out it's nothing like. But yeah, that was like, All-Star was wild. Like, it was so much fun, but it honestly took me a full week to like reconcile everything that happened. Like, I only think this past weekend I was able to be like, okay, I can think of now Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all the things that happened, and not just be like, what was time? Like, how things were together, like getting 3 hours of sleep every night. Cause just like the way those days were structured, it would be like, there's practice or like media access in the morning. And then if you got it right, you're on deadline. So I definitely overcompensated for the amount of time I thought I would have, not even factoring in like travel time and the fact that like everything is spread out between like 3 arenas in the city. Plus if there's any like media availability at like stores or like pop-ups or like the parties, like all that kind of extra stuff.
Right.
And then just like, being on deadline, having to file things for like every day at certain times. I think like as a writer, I'm more accustomed and I like being kind of just like, I don't know, I like to just like flop around in what I'm writing, and you can't do that when you're like on assignment with the team.
That's one thing I was like super curious to ask you, like how, like I think one would assume like the pace and intensity is really high in a job like this, but what's the like how are you reconciling, like in a situation like All-Star, how are you reconciling these kind of like all these writing deadlines versus like I should be maybe going to this dinner or party or meet and greet or, you know, semi-networking event type thing. Like I should be visible, but also I need to be like at my computer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I tried to do everything. I tried to do everything I could, and I don't know if that was like smart or not, but I thought for myself, like being, it's like my first All-Star, I want to do as much as possible, because even for myself, I know like coming out of it, I was still like, I didn't do enough, even though I did a shit ton of stuff.
3 hours sleep sounds like you did just that. Like you did a lot.
I mean, I think it was just like getting into a weird rhythm, and the rhythm, even though the rhythm was like extremely surreal, like for example, you know, like, I was doing these daily recaps. So I did like a one big feature, and then I did these daily recaps every day as well for the Raptors. And then those could kind of spin more feverish and like fun. And then when I realized I could just sort of really lean into that and it was fine, that sort of helped. But I guess it made me better at getting comfortable at like letting things go, to be like half asleep or like half delirious and be writing. And then just to be like, you know what? Like, this is what I wrote. I'm like, this is what you're going to get today. And then the weirdest thing was like not wanting to miss out on opportunities or like seeing people or meeting people. So what would happen is like after every day, so the games are done like say 10 or so.
Okay.
And then you're like at the arena, there's like after game availability or press conferences of players, depending on like what the game is. Like with Rising Stars, like you could just go talk to all the rookies because they're young guys. But at the All-Star game, they're just like, they're not going to let you talk to LeBron James one-on-one. He's going to take like a little stage and talk to everybody. So then it's like, if you got to file something or if you want to write, then you can write at the arena, or you can like try and get on a media shuttle back to the hotel, or you can like try to get an Uber, which was like a nightmare because it's like everyone also just trying to leave the arena who came to watch the game. So like you get back to the hotel, sometimes it's like 11, sometimes it's midnight. I would like try and file, like write so I could file. And then they would have this hospitality room in like a hotel ballroom at the media hotel where I was staying every night until 2 a.m. So I'd finish and it would be like 1 a.m. But in your mind, you're like, oh, I just finished work. So you're like, it's like, feels like 8 p.m.
You're like, I'm going to go drink till 4.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'll go downstairs to this weird dark room where there's like warm cheese cubes and like warm wine and like pepperoni sticks with like weird bloggers and writers and media people who like, you know, some are great, but some are pretty weird. And you're like, all right, I'll stay here, but they kick you out at 2. So then at 2, you kind of catch a second wind. And then as you said, you're like, I guess we're going out now until 4. So time really loosened up.
And so can I ask, like, you know, was there like, did you feel like mostly comfortable with the Raptors? Was it like, you know, sports are like this hyper male environment. Like, was it accommodating? Were you kind of like, oh wow, this is like extra work for me in some scenarios?
You know, the only times I felt like the team that went down with the Raptors was super small. Like they had a couple of the regular comms people, and then it was mostly the digital team who I've been like working with all month, who I like a lot, and they're like pretty small and scrappy and like pretty good at what they do. And then I had like editors who I work with and like other writers and friends who were there too. So like that helped. Like Toronto had a pretty good like crew who kind of went down. So just like friends and colleagues I've kind of met through basketball. Cool. So that helped to just like stabilize things at times. Yeah. The one time that was like a bit uncomfortable and like a little bit weird is like at the All-Star media availability. So like to go talk to both teams, it was like the Saturday morning of the weekend, and they held it at like a different arena than where the game was. But they set up these like, they almost look like, picture like in a courtroom like the podium a judge would sit on.
Okay, this is already good. I'm picking now I can only picture Anthony Davis in one of those old white wigs. Yes. So carry on. Like that's the only image in my head now. And now Muggsy Bogues is a bailiff.
Well, they had one of these for like every player on the team set up down a basketball court. So it was about like, I think 1, 2, 3, 5 long on either side, and then because that wouldn't fit everyone, there were 2 at the end, kind of off the court, facing away from the court, and then around that they all had backdrops, so there was like this fake back walkway that players could walk out from like the tunnel onto, and then they had these like stanchions, like this like red, like Hollywood, like red carpet style stanchions around the way to like get them into the booth, and then at the front of the booth. And then what is even weirder is like there's so many media there anyway. And like, this is the day that all the media go to, because it's like for a lot of places, it's probably the only time they're going to have access to like all of these individual players from all these different teams in one place at one time.
Right.
But the guys just like brought out in kind of staggered, like they brought out Team Giannis and then they brought out Team LeBron, and then they're kind of staggered in terms of like when they come out, because they also like ESPN was there, another broadcast was there, and they have weird little booths set up off court. Not only are there like hundreds of media just kind of like sprawled out over what is a basketball court, you're all just kind of like traipsing around on. ESPN and like a couple other live broadcasters are doing these like courtside fun broadcast things where they like bring the players out there to like talk to them before they bring them on the floor. But then you've got all these like media people on the floor that are getting riled up waiting, and it's like throwing the time off, because both teams are only supposed to be on the court for 45 minutes. So that's like 45 minutes. Not each player will probably sit down for like 10-ish minutes. But then within that 45 minutes, they've got to fit every player on that team. And then to make it even more chaotic, they sell tickets to fans. So the seats are full.
Oh
and
my
they
God.
have in court like announced, like they have like a team of like hype people being like, let's check in live with so and so, and then they'll like, if there's video coverage of a player talking, they'll put it up on the jumbotron.
This just sounds like
cut away from that.
Pure bedlam.
It was like anarchy. Yeah, it was like very like confusing and overwhelming and weird, because I also didn't say that at every podium, just to make it even more challenging, there's one single kind of shitty speaker on a stand. So if you're just there to record audio, you need to get yourself to as close to the speaker as you can on the side that's facing. So some people are there with like full camera crews. Some people are just writers like me who just want like audio quotes. And then you've got people that now, like the thing now is people record on their phones, like quotes and video. Like this happens, I've noticed, in like post-game like scrums and locker rooms too.
Mm-hmm. Like everyone just recording on their phones.
Yeah. So you get video and audio. Anyway, so you've got like, if you've got to angle yourself kind of close to the speaker, or else you're not going to be able to hear the players because it's so loud, and they're doing giveaways and they're throwing things out into the stands and they've got the Chicago Bulls dancers. There's like mascots running around. So like it was a very weird space to try and like get around in, because the whole reason I was there was because I was trying to get a story about Lowry and Siakam, but not from quotes from them, but quotes from other players about them. So basically to make a composite of like, talk about it's Lowry's 6th time in the All-Star game, and talk about like Pascal Siakam's 1st time in the All-Star game, and like,
so you were basically playing
of them.
Like you were playing the most difficult game of like Pokemon for basketball all-stars of all time.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm going to track down the busiest, most famous people here one by one and get them to give me specific quotes.
But what I haven't said is that, I don't know, like in scrums, in like a regular scrum, in a controlled environment, like in an arena, you've got maybe a dozen people tops, and you all kind of like, you have enough time. You still have to like kind of shout your question out, and sometimes you're going to talk at the same time as someone, but usually players or coaches or whoever are pretty good at like knowing who just said that, and they'll come back to you. Or like if a comms or PR person is there, they'll maybe like give you the nod afterwards. In this situation at All-Star, no one is controlling it. There's 50 to maybe, I don't know, 100 people yelling a question at the same time, or yelling people's names. But like at some point, you also have to figure for height, like I'm pretty tall, but like my head was coming up to the edge of these weird judges booths. So like they can't even see you if you're too close. And then if you're too far, they can't see you because there's people or camera equipment in front of you. So like at first I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Like I'm not a non-confident person, but it's like takes a real deranged type of like confidence to thrive in that environment. But I have to say by the end that I was deranged.
Oh my God, I love this. So you just started being like, you know what? I'm going to be deranged and I'm going to get my story.
Because there's so like, for me, there was a moment that I was kind of on the precipice where it was like, I'm kind of uncomfortable, but then it's like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, if I don't get these quotes, there's no story. Like, I can't make up quotes or be like, oh, Jimmy Butler looked like he would have some nice things to say about Kyle Lowry. This is what I imagine he would say.
Trust me, they share some similar opinions. I got a good feeling about it.
Mm-hmm. So I got like very bloodthirsty and really good at like contorting my body to like basically be people's backpacks or like kind of fit into spaces that weren't meant for people. Used a lot of tricks, like with Rudy Gobert. I just started screaming, "En français, en français."
Oh my! This is amazing. Yes, en français. Oh my God! And I mean, that must have. Of course, he must have been like, "Who's saying that? That's weird."
He looked right at me, and then I just kind of grinned at him and then started screaming in English. So he was like, "Oh, you tricked me," but he was very nice. And then like everyone else, you just have to like scream your way over every other person screaming in that moment. And I realized the best way to do it is you end up screaming half your question over and over and over. But it's like whoever can outlast, it's a little like Survivor. It's like if you can outlast the person also screaming their question, the first half of their question, and you can get through yours first. And then you get to this point where all the other voices drop out. And that's almost shocking because you're like, oh shit, I'm the only one screaming now. And everyone is so mad and like looking at me.
Right. Everyone must
then you win.
Everyone must be kind of like a bit peeved when someone does get a question through, because it's kind of like you're all working together, but also not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then like what I would find was good, which I don't know if this is like proper etiquette, but because you would have them and they'd finish like almost waiting the exact right amount of time that they could like finish, but before anyone else got a question in, to ask a follow-up question, like while they're still looking at you.
Oh, that's slick. I like that a lot. So wait, was there, so you got Rudy with the like en français, but was there any other, like, is there any kind of, I guess like all-star moments where you had with the player where you're like, oh man, I worked my like Katie magic and like this, it worked out.
I think like I really like Bam. I got Bam for some good stuff on Siakam, but it worked because I think he thought I had like a nervous tick because I was like screaming.
This is good shit, dude. Yeah, it's like
where I like positioned myself with Bam was like directly at the side of his booth, and then from that angle I could see the next booth over was Pascal. So I kept like motioning frantically with my chin like up at him sharply. And like when I would ask my question, and then when I got to be the one just talking, he kind of looked at me and was like smirking a little bit. And like I kept mentioning, like if I reference Pascal, I jut my chin again. And finally he just was like, wait, stop. And then he like placed both his hands on his judge's booth, and he like turned his whole body to where I was pointing with my chin. And then he like jerked his head back, and he was like just grinning, and he was like, He's like, I had no idea he was over there. And he was so happy. And then he was just like, I don't know. I think I just asked him about like, was he happy to be playing with Pascal? They both have like a similarly kind of explosive style. And then I said something about like, was he happy to like not have to play against the spin move? To which everything he said yes. But then he was like, I love Pascal. He's my African brother. I think we look alike.
Oh my God. Yeah. I heard the lookalike thing. That is the funniest thing ever. It's such a funny little addition to like something serious and cool. Like my African brother. And you're like, I think a lot of people were digging this kind of like, subplot of like African pride in the All-Star game. But that's hilarious to me that he threw that little one in like afterwards. It's like, plus we look alike. And like,
he's a bit of a wild card.
I don't know that they do look alike. Or I mean, I guess I don't see
They
it.
don't. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. But I was like, okay, sure, man. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, man. That's funny. Okay, let me ask you like two more questions, just kind of like about the month of February for you, and then we'll hit up some quickish questions. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just like this is just like my basketball fandom coming out, but when you're kind of like heading into like Scotiabank Arena, to check out a game and heading to the media area. Like, what is there anything that gave you kind of like a sense of glee? Like you're like, oh my God, this is like surreal. Like I'm a bit of out of a body experience, or were you, so hyper focused on being like, I need to act like I've always been here?
I mean, this is going to sound weird, but like it feels like both simultaneously. And it feels like even the first time I did it when I was super nervous, like before I did the Raptors month, like I went a bunch before I got the month because I wanted to get comfortable and like I wanted to get as acclimatized as possible. But I have to say, when you're doing it, you're like, oh, this is so natural. This is normal. And then you leave and it's almost like what I feel like is like I've had an out of body experience for like the amount of hours I've been in there.
Yeah, totally.
Like, that's kind of what happened to me at All-Star too. But I feel like that's why I kind of love it. And everything is so thrilling about it. Cause it's like, there isn't a moment when I'm doing it that I'm not like kind of like pushing myself or feeling a little uncomfortable, but like, you just have to do it. Like you're just in that situation. I don't know. I feels like that's like what it is to like get the most worthwhile stuff out of it for me. I mean, I have to say the very first time I went in and I went down to like the tunnels and I was like, oh, it just smells like a hockey arena. That was
funny. I guess it's just you're like, wow, this is just a cementy type of arena.
And also just like, when you're like waiting in the hallway and like the players from a visiting team arrive and you're just like, oh, okay, there's like Damian Lillard just past me. There's Miles Turner. There's just like that's kind of surreal. And if they like smile at you or like look at you and you're like, oh my God.
Right. I mean, it's always that wild thing that I think anytime you see someone on camera a bunch or in social media or whatever, and then seeing them in person, it's like it's like it's happened to me a million times, but it's still that feeling of like, oh right, real person.
Yeah, and it's like. I don't want it to go away. I don't think it will. And like, I guess it can normalize. I think everything normalizes to an extent at some point, but it doesn't feel like that for me. And there's also this weird tunnel. I have to just say there's this weird, like little part of the tunnel in Scotiabank that's like where they keep all the props. And you have to pass through it to get to your seats. So it's like
all the props.
Yeah. So if there's like cutouts of players, sumo suits that they wrestle in, if there's going to be like a game, everything is just kind of strewn about. But it's also where they keep all the first aid equipment, so there's stretchers.
Listen, I don't want to. I don't want to.
Will come in.
Oh my God. Okay, Katie, I don't want to freak out here, but you need to bring me to that room. Like more than anything else I've heard, like I'd love to meet everyone, you know what I mean? Like that would be cool. But at the same time,
is that where they
bring me to this room? I just need to look.
Is Dwayne?
It's where they keep all the signs too.
Is Dwayne Casey's Rock in there? Is that where the Rock is?
I haven't seen it, but there's also a lot of just like floor to ceiling curtains that are sometimes open and closed to different sections of this section of the tunnel. It's extremely weird, but it's like my favorite thing in the arena because it's always different every time you go through it.
Oh my God, I love this mystery tunnel. Okay,
it's a good tunnel.
Here's my last kind of like you covering the Raptors question, and take it whatever kind of direction you want. But is there anything that you feel like the average kind of like nerdy kind of hardcore Raptors fan would like to know? Like, what's something that you feel like, oh man, people don't really know this, but
Like logistically?
Yeah.
Or like about a player.
I mean, like, yeah, less a player's secret, like Kyle, sings in the shower or whatever. I mean, more so like, wow, there's a lot more people, there's a lot more family with the players than you realize, or they're pretty quiet during halftime, or just anything where you kind of, just an observation you had where you're like, this isn't something I thought about, but this is interesting.
There is a lot of family there. Kids are always kind of running around, but it's usually after games. The very first time I was in a pregame scrum, I think the room that they do Nick Nurse's pressers in is attached to, I think, like, it's either a daycare or where they keep kids. It's also, I think, where they keep all the little ballas before games. Aww. So you can hear them like screaming through the wall as like Nick Nurse is giving his like, whether it's like a serious like like whatever the tone of the game.
That's so cute. I love that.
It's cute, and it's like kind of funny because you're like, oh, this is like, it's hard. You can't take it too seriously. There's also a way, and this is something I've only gotten this month because of where I'm sitting. Like my seats are different for the month. I have like more primo seats basically. So right after the game, when it ends, if you cut across the concourse to these like media elevators that go down one floor, you come out in these like little more tunnels, and then it spits you out right in front of the Raptors locker room. So if you get there in time, you can beat them to them coming down the tunnel after a game into the locker room. And it's just like where I saw Masai last night, just in this like secret little living room that was open, and we like locked eyes and I almost fainted. But like it's where you get like the best quotes, the like funniest interactions, just because they're usually in a good mood because they've had such a good month.
Yeah, totally.
In my experience, but they're just like laughing, joking, like, falling off each other, like shit talking, just like having the best time. So I try and get there every time now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just ask you this last question. Just not so much about covering the Raptors, but how are you feeling about this Bucks game tomorrow? So this pod's going to come out
day of the game.
Day of the game. Oh, Matt said that to me like he's my dad, and he's told me like we've been practicing for an exam tomorrow, and like, you know what I mean. I just keep getting the information wrong. Day of the game. Yeah. So yeah. How are you feeling about the Bucks Raptors matchup?
I mean,
on the day of the game.
Day of the game. Not great, but like, I guess I can look at it two ways. They could either pull it out and win, because again, I don't think it's so impossible. I know it's the Bucks right now. Or I have also of the mind that things have been going so well that it might not be the worst thing to get like, it's one thing to like blow the Pacers out in the third game you've played against them in 1 month. It's another thing, I think, to get like really decimated by a team like the Bucks in terms of like truly looking at the ways you may need to recalibrate the team, especially into like the last part of the regular season. And just the kind of things that like, why not resolve them now versus like waiting until the postseason? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Nick said in an interview, I heard your voice, so I know you're there, but he was kind of talking about it's kind of cool that we actually get to play the Bucks 3 times in this this 27 games after the All-Star weekend, because they're all measuring sticks. Like the Bucks are the team that are approaching 70 wins, so it's a pretty perfect team to play to look inwards, especially after you just destroy a team like the Pacers, who yes, you might play in the playoffs, but it's hard to figure out anything from that game except that we are way better than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think like, you got to take into consideration the team's still not fully healthy, that we've gotten pretty good and proud of ourselves at like the weird rotational lineups, that like the Raptors have been able to get into and like do very well with. But when you're looking at a team like the Bucks, and I mean, Nick Nurse said this too, it's just like and I think for a little while I was kidding myself about it, but I thought about it more and was like, damn, he's right. They have like way more depth, way more experience. They're on this like roll right now. They're a completely different team than they were when the Raptors faced them in the playoffs, which like they didn't freak me out then. And I guess to be honest, like the Bucks in a series, that's different than the Bucks in one game. Like I think series, they're harder and like it takes, you just play it game by game. But to just like take one game on them, especially when they're on this like regular season roll, I think will be pretty tough. So
yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Are we ready for like a good leveler?
I don't know. And I don't know how hard this team is looking for like a measuring stick. Like I don't know if I can't tell if the players are having fun and confident that they're the best team, or if they're kind of wanting this statement type of game. Like, and just to like about your kind of comments about the Bucks being so good this year, I think it's lost on the larger kind of like NBA, like the NBA talking heads that get the most airtime, just like how devastatingly good this Bucks team is. And them choking in the playoffs was losing to an eventual champion. They played us incredibly harder than the Warriors, or then they didn't play us harder than the Sixers. But I think even just, watching the highlights of that series again, it's, yes, the Raptors tactically took them down and we won 4 in a row and it was so exciting, but that team was incredible and they're incredible this year as well. And I mean, I think I'm a bit in the minority in this camp, but I think Giannis has been the best player in the world for the last 2 years, including when we beat him in the playoffs. And I know a lot of people are kind of in the LeBron train and Kawhi, which obviously is super fair. But for me, Giannis is just the scariest player to play. And I think, he didn't lose so much as we beat him. That's the way I see it.
What's like scary about him too is that as good as he is now, and I think this is what makes him the scariest player, is he's only going to get better.
I know. Like he has a couple more years of getting better. It's insane. Okay, you know what? Let's not be scared though. Things are good. Can I trouble?
To be scared sometimes, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
and push yourself.
You got to look forward to these games though. Like these are the 2 top teams. This is what you want to see. You want to see the best going at it, and you know what?
Yeah.
We can't be afraid of these guys. Come on.
Exactly. That Zamboni driver,
freaking champions
for the Carolina Hurricanes the other day, like he must have been terrified.
Yeah.
And how is that person not even scared of like just the speed of the sport? You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Like I think if someone was like, Freddie, the Raptors need you, like I would tear my ACL on the very first play. It would be horrific. Like, but anyways, let's get silly and do some quickish questions. You want to do some quickish questions, Katie?
Yeah, man.
Okay, Maddie, fire up those quickish cues.
Quickish questions.
Okay, Katie, you know how this works. It's a little bit different this time because I asked Jarrett some of these questions, and I'm going to ask you the same questions, but it's going to be less of a rotating thing. So it's going to be they're going to come at you quicker than ever. Is that cool?
Oh no! Yes.
Quicker in like my stuttering way.
Quicker questions.
Yeah. Quicker questions, still slow Freddy brain. Okay, here we go. Coming from Kevin. Would you keep Serge in the starting lineup when Mark comes back?
Yes.
Coming from Thomas. How many minutes should Terrence Davis get to play in the playoffs?
37.
37.
Coming from Kevin. What are some first drafts of wacky coaching strategies that Nick Nurse didn't end up trying?
Oh, like as a joke?
Yeah, like he did the box
his Gigantor lineup. The Gigantor lineup, which could be Boucher, Siakam, Ibaka, Mark, and Rondae.
That would be the best day of my life, I think. Other than seeing the magical props room. Okay, coming from Jonathan, follow along on this one. It was revealed that during the MLB offseason, Madison Bumgarner was entering and winning rodeo competitions under an assumed name. Which NBA player can you picture doing something like this? What would be their offseason activity, and what would their assumed name be?
Oh, that's really good.
I know, this guy's cool, right?
Yeah, this is a good question. I feel like I could see this for some reason makes me just think of the Miami Heat, and I feel like Jimmy Butler could be into free diving.
Yeah, he does those long YouTube videos where it's like, oh my God, he's been underwater for like 4 minutes.
Yeah, where he's just like, I just love the feel of the ocean pressing against my body when I go down into this chasm. And I feel like his name would just be like Jim Breather, or like Jimmy Bubbles or something.
Jimmy Bubbles.
Jimmy Bubbles. Jim Breather is almost funnier because it's weird. It's like, Jim Breather, what do you do? It's like, you don't want to know, bud.
And I could see like Bam Adebayo being in like a competitive like salsa competition, salsa dancing.
Oh, I could see that for sure. Okay, another one from Jonathan, and this is fun. I actually don't know the incident he's talking about, so if you don't either, just make something up.
Okay.
So Jonathan says, which NBA player / prospect will pull a Reese McGuire next preseason in the parking lot of the Halifax Dollarama? Maybe not the exact same indiscretion, but what other bad decision will they make?
This is just who could I picture like roaming around Halifax or Dartmouth after dark, basically.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
He's on a donair hunt, right?
Yeah. Who's on a donair hunt?
Oh, wait. I know this is like semi-quick, but I have to. It's going to be someone on the Pelicans because I know someone on the Pelicans was addicted to beignets.
What?
The food? It's small pastry.
No, I know the food is delicious.
Okay, but who was it? Someone was like getting addicted to them in the summer. I should know this.
Lonzo? Brandon Ingram?
I think it was Josh Hart.
Josh Hart.
So
I love it.
Actually, no. You know what? I'm changing my answer completely. It's JJ Redick. I'm looking at his dirty face now, and it's him.
Yeah. JJ Redick for sure is like
he's going to the dark side.
Oh, totally. He's just like he's like somehow driving a cab, and you're like, whoa, what's going on?
He's there already. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Another one from Jonathan. We've heard so much about the Confederacy of Dunks toques. We talk about them a lot. But what about Confederacy of Dunks scarves? Any plans for scarves? Katie, there's no way you'd know this, but please answer.
Yes.
Yes, we plan for scarves, says Katie. Okay, this one's coming from Jess. For Katie, well, that makes sense. Which potential playoff matchup would you be the most excited to cover in the second round, assuming it's one of Boston, Miami, or Philly?
Miami.
Ooh, Miami, yes.
Let's get it going.
Sizzling. Miami Sizzling Nights.
Sizzling Nights, baby. Hey. Coming from Andre. Which player would improve the most if they became much taller? I know, that's a solid question.
Do you know what, though? Not many of them would, because I think it would throw off their balance a lot.
Yeah, I think so.
And like things like speed and just like center of gravity. You know what? I'm gonna say Marc Gasol because he's already big. So if he got bigger, he would just be like stomping around like gigantic,
he was like break in half.
Like the baby in Honey, I Blew Up the Baby or whatever.
I could see Marc Gasol being like 10 foot and being like, how this guy's wild. Like he barely moves, but he's always like taking charges.
He would look the same somehow.
Also from Andre, see if you can follow the theme. Okay. Which player would be most effective if they suddenly became much shorter?
Yeah, I can follow the theme. This one is less tough, but I think you would have to deal with a lot of like sudden mental complexes, like short guy complexes.
Right.
It'd be tough. So in that vein, and in the vein of my similar answer to my last question, I'm going to go ahead and shrink further Chris Paul because I think he'd be able to handle it.
That's a 5 foot Chris Paul is like the stats are still the same.
Yeah, or better.
Okay, 2 more questions. Another one from Andre. What's a tradition or rule from other sports that you would like to integrate into the NBA?
I didn't know about that Zamboni rule.
Yeah, no, the emergency backup.
Like, that's pretty cool.
It made me really mad because I didn't understand it, and I was like, why does the other team have to provide it? Like,
yeah, there's a lot going on.
And it just seems like a rule that someone made up when they were like drunk, or I guess you run out of players in hockey, but something like that I've really warmed up to.
It's very strange.
Yeah, I've warmed up to it in basketball, but I don't know what the parameters would be. I would think I would rather prefer it instead of playing, because you could really hurt yourself. How about coaching? You could sub in a player. If Nick Nurse gets teed up, a player has to take over.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, last question.
Even though there's all those assistant coaches just waiting.
I know, I was going to say, like Jamal McGlure would be like, this really hurts. And both, and you guys totally skip me. Okay, last question from Brian. Who is your defensive player of the year, and why is it Jimmy Butler?
I love this question. Because I love Jimmy Butler. So that's all I could say, Jimmy Bubbles.
Folks, there you have it, Jimmy Bubbles. Wait, what's the other one? Jim Breather.
Jim Breather.
Jim Breather. You don't want to meet someone named Jim Breather. They're scary.
Yeah, you don't want to meet someone like him when you're running up trying to do something crafty on offense. Jim Breather's going to stop you dead in your tracks.
Oh, for sure. So that's it. That's it for the pod. Katie, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, you're the best.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it took so long, and thanks for doing this pod in probably the most wild, busy month of your life. I appreciate it a lot.
It's okay. I like it.
Okay, you do so much. You're everywhere. Basketball Feelings for sure. Where should people? How should they support you best? Because you deserve all the support in the world.
Oh, thank you. Basketball Feelings. Please subscribe to my newsletter, Basketball Feelings, on Substack. You can listen to a new podcast I started with a group of women. So it's like a rotating cast of women hosts, and we just talk about basketball in fun and also very smart ways. It's called awesome. Dishes and Dimes. You can
Dishes and Dimes.
You can subscribe anywhere that there are podcasts, probably the same ones that you guys plug.
Player FM.
Oh, I don't know if we have that one.
I see that. Matt, you got to have Player FM.
Stumped.
iTunes, Stitcher, all that good stuff.
But yeah, you could subscribe, rate, review it if you like it and want to rate it and review it. What else? I don't know. I'll be going back to writing more long form features for Dime once this month is up. So you could look for me there. But I guess probably the best way is if you want to follow me on Twitter. I'm at whatevs, WTEVS. And that's where I'm posting. I'm trying to remember to post everything.
Yeah. Katie is amazing on Twitter, by the way. Just support her and yeah, you're awesome, Katie. I really appreciate you being on the show. And this is cool.
This was cool.
All right.
Sweet. Well, I guess I'll see you later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jimmy Bubbles.
Yeah, Jimmy Bubbles. If anyone of the three of us encounters someone named Jim Breather,
run the other way.
Yeah, run the other way, but also message the others, because I think it's like a ring thing. You know what I mean? Like
you gotta check in and be safe.
Yeah, and then we can't meet up. You know what I mean? Like we have to go our separate ways from each other, even, because I think at that point you're on the run and Jimmy is breathing after you. Okay, cool. Well, have a good night on that note.
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Jimmy Breather note.
Basketball.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.